Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast, the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Lee Russel. Our conversation is going to be all around AI strategy. He's a futurologist. He's written best-selling books as well, and I'm really happy to have him on. A lot of my conversations these days have been around AI, and really happy to pick his brain. So, Lee, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, really excited to dive into this topic. Like AI is the topic everyone is talking about. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of hype. And yeah, I'd love to tell you a little bit more about how we're helping people use this technology to change their businesses and their lives.
Yeah. And briefly introduce your background, how you got into this, and what you help clients do these days.
Yeah, way back in 2014, I became a user experience designer and really got into the world of how do we design experiences that companies' customers love, makes them sticky, makes us give word of mouth referrals. And from there, found myself working in a company called Smoothwell, where we were building and designing machine learning and AI tools to keep students safe online. How do we detect a school shooting, self-harm, abuse, those kind of things? It's high risk environment to deploy AI into, and we were doing that across millions of students. So I've seen what it takes to build AI systems that are scalable, but also reliable. For the last 4 years, I've been running a company called Minimal Viable Launch. We've been working with some of the UK's fastest growing companies, Octopus Energy, Daniel Priestley and his companies, if you know anything about Daniel Priestley, to build AI agents and AI products that help people disrupt their niches.
Interesting. And these days, I'm talking about how should businesses be preparing? Because all these days you're hearing, I'm writing a post about physical AI. And why do you think we're heading for AI disillusionment, and how should businesses prepare?
I think we're at an interesting moment in the world of AI at the minute. We've just had, at the time of this recording, the release of GPT-5. It was much anticipated. It was much hyped. We have AGI. We've got it locked away in the basement. It's going to disrupt the world's economy, and there's no jobs and there's no businesses left. Humans are no longer relevant. And I think we're moving into this slightly more skeptical phase of the AI world, right? Every technology goes through a hype cycle because we get the most hyper optimistic voices saying it's going to be really easy. It's going to be really fast. It's going to be more disruptive than we can think of. And then we realize that the world is chaotic, messy, and hard. And actually, it's going to take longer than we were predicting. And the pessimistic voices start to rise. But interestingly for me, both the most hyper optimistic and the pessimistic voices, they're both wrong. It will be more disruptive than those who are pessimistic about this technology predict. But it will take longer than the most hyper optimistic voices predict. We're moving into a new phase of this disruption. And I think this is where the real work gets done. If you're a clever business owner, if you're a smart business owner, you don't fall for the disillusionment. You look for examples of where people have applied AI successfully and learn from the principles of that. We always say here at Minimal Viable Launch, like, success leaves clues. We don't need to guess how to use AI in your business. There is thousands of examples that we can analyze of other businesses. Let's take those principles, let's make the safe bets, let's keep moving. And then you get to ride the wave. A mentor of mine said to me the other day that those who ride the wave get to enjoy the wave. And that's what we want to encourage people to do.
Interesting. Where are specific areas where AI excels today, and where should businesses avoid it entirely?
We talk a lot about something in the world of, you talked about physical AI, and this is a principle that comes from the world of robotics, Morevec's paradox, if you've ever heard of this idea that computers are incredibly good at things that humans are incredibly bad at. Humans are incredibly good at things computers are incredibly bad at. And a lot of the mistakes that we see businesses making in terms of AI is they have projected they've personified the abilities of that AI, and they projected onto that AI that it's so good at things I'm bad at, it must be easily able to do what I find at no effort at all. Strategy, decision-making, pushing back against the client's request, being non-congruent. I think Morevec's paradox actually shows us the way forward, at least for the next few years, which is we don't want to try and replace the humans in your business largely with AI, or what we call God models, where it's like we're going to have one agent that runs a business, right? And we can dive into that the mistakes of those businesses that do this on this conversation, but we really believe in this symbiotic system. It is your best humans supercharged with AI and outsourcing on the right side of Morevec's paradox for each of those different forms of intelligence. So you get your AI to do the pattern matching, the calculus, and some analysis, and maybe hallucinating content for fun, right? And you get your humans to be the human in the loop, the strategists, the thinkers, the sense checkers, the common sense makers, the planners. And you build a system that puts those two together. You have something that is actually usable in an enterprise environment that will get you a system that is able to do meaningful work. So we don't want to do a Klarna and fire all of our support staff and say, support is now AI only. Difficult proposition to make. AI can do some of the support work, but we need humans for those kind of complex, messy cases. What we want to do is say, how do we level up our team members, empower them with AI so that they can do higher leverage, more meaningful and more impactful work? To me, that's the route forward.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And once a business owner identifies specific areas, how can a business owner, because now you've got tons of software companies that AI can do a lot of different things, and how can an owner tell if an AI tool will actually deliver ROI or just burn through their budget?
You've got to run the experiments. It's very easy to concept ideas that you can apply AI to. Like, I think if we were to look at our little kind of hit list, if you're anything like me, I have a notepad, scratchpad on my Mac where it's just full of kind of crazy ideas. Most of them will never see the light of the day, and most of them never should see the light of the day. They're bad ideas fundamentally. When you do that analysis of your business, what we're looking for, what we typically talk to businesses about, is there's 3 levels of AI projects that you can embark on. There's your cost savers, there is your money makers, and then there's your moonshots. And we visualize this a little pyramid, right? Most people try to start with the moonshot. It's like, here's the all-in bet. We're going to bet the business. And if this doesn't work out, we are in real trouble. I applaud the risk taking, and entrepreneurs are inherently risk takers, right? But I think the cost savers are right now such an interesting place to apply AI in your business. This might look like, for instance, we're working with an SEO social media agency right now. They're like, we pay 50 people to write social media content for our customers. What can we do? And it's not firing those 50 social media content creators. What it is saying, if we can get the AI to do an 80, 90% great first draft of their month's worth of content, and we take that time saving from your team, and instead of writing content, they have a strategy call with the client to build the next big mountain, to look at the next objectives for their clients and to get feedback, that is a better system, because not only do your customers love the FaceTime with you, you become stickier because you become a strategic advisor, not just someone who does something for work. So those cost saving projects are great because you get work off people's plate, you outsource to a cheaper agent or an AI workflow, and then you level those people up into a higher leverage activity, which gets you an ROI. We call it the agent flywheel. It's this kind of recursive loop of, you find the highest ROI project. What am I paying people to do that's safest to outsource to AI? Let me do that. Let me take the profit that gets me to build the next agent, to build the next agent, to build the next agent. And we talk about this ship of Theseus approach. Don't try and change your company to be an AI first company like on day one or overnight. It's not going to happen. It's a bad experience for everyone. But how about finding the creakiest plank in your ship, the most painful process that you have, and just replace that with a small experiment, level up your capabilities in AI. And that is a much more sane and reliable way to integrate AI into your business.
Interesting. And a follow-up question I had for you is, because you were talking about strategic advisor, and why are you concerned about businesses using AI as their strategic advisor?
So I think this is a really interesting quirk with the world of AI, right? When we have trained a lot of these consumer grade models, so if you're just using a standard GPT, Claude, Gemini account, etc., the reinforcement learning that goes on with those models makes those models really congruent, right? Because when we are paying a subscription to ChatGPT and we say, ChatGPT, write me a poem, We want it to say, yes, here's your poem, not no, that's a bad idea, or no, that's a waste of processing time in the server farm, right? So they're very congruent. These models will do whatever you ask them to do. And people try to combat this with the prompt, like, you are a very analytical, critical business advisor. You will critique my idea, et cetera, et cetera. But if you test this in its extreme and you ask GPT to disagree with you, it will instantly disagree with you because it's agreeing with your idea to disagree. And then you challenge it on its disagreement with you. It says, I wasn't really sure it's a bad idea. You just asked me to make a disagreement with you. That's what I gave. And I liken this to a bit like the problem that dictators face when they're too heavy-handed in their management of their like senior generals, right? And they're at war. No bad news travels from the front line to the dictator. They think in their bubble that the war is won, that they have incredible success on the ground. Everything is going completely against them, but everyone is too afraid to be the one that says, actually, this isn't going the way that we think, because they take a short trip out of a window, okay? For instance, GPTs and AI in general, I think is very much like that. And you can see this if you start to notice it, this congruency problem. And I think there is an awful lot of danger being done to society because we see people using AI as a therapist. The job of a good therapist is actually sometimes to tell you when you're being a bit neurotic or you're being a bit unreasonable. GPT will always say that you are right in that argument with your spouse or your partner. It very rarely does it say, you know what, Lee, maybe you shouldn't have said that. Because, and there's examples of this that OpenAI had published some research on. They had to hide the reasoning from AI when it was trying to deal with personal problems because people didn't like reading that the AI thought they were being a bit neurotic. They downrated that response. So we trained it out of the model. It's almost impossible to get it to genuinely disagree with you. And I think a good advisor, if you have a business coach or a mentor, someone that is helping you achieve higher success in your life, a core thing they must be able to do is tell you when you're not being good enough or when that is a bad idea or when you genuinely need to reflect on your behavior. I've never experienced an interaction with an AI that has managed to make me do that in a genuine way.
Interesting. So that moving forward, do you help entrepreneurs with a minimal viable launch product? So how do you, in terms of entrepreneurs' AI idea to profit, how do you validate the AI product idea before spending money on development? Is it like a beta release, or talk about that?
I wrote this book out of sheer frustration where I was probably in the first year and a half of my business. I'd been in the world of startups and tech and product launches for a good 8 years at that point. And I'd noticed a trend in the companies that I worked in and the products that I was in charge of launching. When we did not seek to get validation from the market quickly on our idea, and we retreated to this kind of secret laboratory, we built in secret, we thought we had the world's best idea. I used to term that as Schrodinger's product. It's both going to work and fail at the same time. And until we make contact with the market, we have no clue what kind of product we have. And people will give me all sorts of excuses and say, but I'm the first user. I'm scratching my own itch. I get it, but you're also an entrepreneur, and you have to realize that entrepreneurs are quite strange in terms of general behavior in a population, right? We like building and launching and scaling new things. So we get obsessed with that. I saw this pattern repeating again and again. I was doing a lot of mentorship across incubators and accelerators across the UK. And again, people would come to me and they'd say, this is my MVP. These are the features that I've got. I need to raise £50,000, £100,000, whatever it was, to get this built. And my first question would be, how many people have you sold this to? And they'd be like, no one. I haven't built anything yet. I can't sell anything. How can I do it? And I pointed them the story, which I talk about in the book, which happened completely by accident. It wasn't a stroke of genius by me. I was just a user experience designer, and the thing I knew how to do was research. It just happens to be that research is also an incredibly good sales technique. And in a customer conversation, I uncovered a problem that I created a Google Sheets dashboard to solve. It was a data analytics product. And I presented that to 20 customers. And we signed £2 million worth of contracts off the back of those conversations with a Google Sheets mock-up. Because the problem is what we referred to that we were solving is we call it a burning hair problem. It's something so great in the customer's mind. It is like having their head on fire. It is immediate, pressing, and painful. It cannot be ignored. Okay. So what the book is all about, a minimal viable launch is all about, you should not write a single line of code until you have sold your product. Okay. And people push back on this so hard. They say, if it doesn't exist, you can't sell it. Richard Branson launched Virgin, the airline, without having an airplane. He pre-sold tickets on an airplane that he did not own at that time in order to convince Boeing to lend him the plane. Okay. An airline, I think we can all imagine, we can all say is probably harder to launch than most tech startups, right? It's a hardware intensive business. It's very regulated, very expensive. And this is what I have found as I've been lucky enough to work with very successful entrepreneurs who run businesses 8 figures and above. They will not lift a finger or invest a penny until you can show them the demand for that product. And they call it pre-sales. And the world of AI gives us even more ability than I had back in 2018 when I was doing my Google Sheets mockups. Now you just use Replit or Lovable or something like that, not to build your product that you will give to the market and sell. I think we're not quite there yet. You can 100% create what we call a vision prototype, something that looks and feels real enough that you present to the market and you ask them to buy, get them to join a waitlist, give them a lifetime deal if you were to launch this. And you get so much fight from entrepreneurs on this because they don't want, this is the job of an entrepreneur. You have to sell stuff. Even if you raise investment, you will eventually have to sell something. Better to learn how to sell your product before you're 100K in the pocket of a VC who's breathing down your neck.
Interesting. Really fascinating. And it reminds me of just in my early days, like a course or something, and you want to pre-sell it, make sure there's a market for it before you spend all this time recording and developing it. And then now AI. Sorry, go ahead.
The same thing. It's the same principle, right? Pre-sales, I think, can be done in any business. Now, there's different aspects. If it's a hardware product or if it's a regulated product, I'm not saying it's easy, but if it's not easy, it's not going to be easy to sell the product either. And this is your job to work out the demand. As you say, we've all done it. Like, we've created a product that we're so excited about, and then no one wants it. That's a mistake you only make once as an entrepreneur because it burns and it really hurts.
Yeah. Final question is, what advice would you give to business owners who feel like they're falling behind in the AI race?
So I think this is a very interesting question because I'm lucky enough to get to present to and speak to, at this point, thousands of entrepreneurs across the course of a year. And I talk about AI extensively. And the thing that I have observed is everyone feels in the world of AI that they are a million miles behind. I did an experiment. I did a presentation last Wednesday to a group of 40 entrepreneurs who run businesses between £1 and £10 million revenue a year. And we got them to put their hands up. Who's got a ChatGPT account? Every single one of them, like across the board, using AI. And then I said, who's got an AI agent doing work in their business? One. And I was like, does that surprise you guys? Because when you were talking to me this morning, you were talking about this fact that you are behind, the fact you are going to be disruptive. And I was like, you're in a room of 40 of your peers and one of you has actually got an agent, even though 2025 is the year of agents and we're halfway through, more than halfway through at this point in time. Everyone is sat around a poker table thinking that every other player in their niche has pocket aces because they've got the most incredible AI technology just waiting to be revealed and everything is going to change. You are still early. If you are feeling behind, you are still early. Most of the world still hasn't even used AI extensively. Most of the world will use AI to be a consumer, not a producer. You are early. What you need to do, and the only job that you have as an entrepreneur, is to look at this new tool. And AI is a tool. It's a new capability that you have, and understand, how can I apply this in a way to solve a problem that my customers are facing in a remarkable way? What is the smallest experiment with AI that I can embark on? And I'm going to start building my capabilities in the world of AI by building small pilot experiments, not betting the house, not going all in on AI and going AI first, running a handful of small, fast, cheap experiments that would do something meaningful if they panned out, back the winners, kill the losers. And I promise you, yes, AI is going to disrupt your niche. It's going to change everything in the world of business eventually. But right now, we're still early. The opportunity is still massive. And it just takes you to take action. You can listen to all of these podcasts about AI. Every influencer is telling you about AI right now. And if you don't do anything about it, it's going to get to 2030, like at the latest. You're going to look back and you're going to say, I knew that this was going to be a big trend. I knew this was going to disrupt everything, and I didn't do anything with it. Why? This is my clarion call to you right now, is all of these podcasts, are you wasting your time if you don't take the information in them and say, do you know what? I'm going to act. You can't get fit by reading about doing push-ups. You've got to do the push-ups.
Yeah, interesting. How can people connect with you, learn more from you, reach out to you?
So we post a lot of content on YouTube under Minimal Viable Launch. I'm also on LinkedIn posting content there. We have the book, The Minimal Viable Launch, a guide to creating software that sells itself. If you want to understand how we think about launching software products. And if you are curious about AI agents in your business, we run a monthly workshop that tells you how to identify those projects in your business that AI agents are most suitable for, that you can apply for. And I'm sure we can give you the links and put that in the show notes.
Excellent. I really enjoyed talking with you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. It's been a fascinating conversation, and it's a pleasure as always.